Hi friends, in the previous video I have explained you about the production possibility set, and in this video I would like to explain you about the production possibility frontier, and the second topic is opportunity cost. Actually, this production possibility frontier is related to the production possibility set only. So once again I want to remember you about the production possibility set. Nothing but the maximum possibilities of making a combination of goods and services with the available allocated resources is nothing but the production possibility set. Check out the previous video. Now this production possibility frontier is related with the production possibility set only. Simply that production possibility combination is explained in the form of a graph. And when we are explaining it in the form of a graph, or when we are studying it in the form of a graph, that barrier or the curve we observe in the graph is nothing but the production possibility frontier. What is that curve in the graph and how we have to analyze that graph? Now let us check it out. Just consider a combination of two goods or services. Simply together I call them, that is good and service, I call them as a product. So product A and product B. Simply product A may be a good or a service and product B may be a good or a service. Now I am plotting these products, one on the x-axis and the other on the y-axis. Now product A on the x-axis, product B on the y-axis. Now how I plot the graph here? Simply I consider that there are some allocated resources. Assume the allocated resources to be some 10 units of allocated resources. Now what we have to analyze here? Simply using these 10 units, which are the required resources for making the two products, both A can be produced out of these allocated resources as well as B can be produced out of these allocated resources. Now we share these allocated resources between the production of A and B. How we allocate them? Just let us go through the maximum number of possibilities. That is, using one allocated unit for production of A and the remaining 9 units for the production of B. So that is 1 for A, 9 units for B. So this is the combination of 1 and 9. 1 unit of allocated resources to A, 9 units of allocated resources to B. Then let us go with some 2 and 8, and then let us go with some 3 and 7, 4 and 6. Remember that these possibilities should be resulted in the production of A and B completely. That means I am using 1 unit of allocated resources for A, 9 units of allocated resources for the production of B. That means this 1 unit of allocated resource should result in the production of this A completely, in the sense the A product should be totally produced, not half part of A is produced or some 75% of the service is completed. No, that good should be completely made. At least one good of A or at least one service of A should be completed. So we should arrange the combinations in that way. To let you understand, I am simply writing here 1 9, 2 8, 3 7, 4 6. It's not necessary they should be like this. For example, it may start with some 3 7 and some possibility 2 8, and finally it may lead to some 5 5, anything. But the combination should result in the complete making of either the good A or the good B, or the service A or the service B. Not the half production, in the sense some 50% of good A was made out of the allocated resources. No, 100% of the good should be produced. Such complete goods, how many goods are produced is the another the case we are going to discuss here. So out of the combinations we are having with this 1, 9, 4, 6 or whatever it may be, how many goods of A and B are produced? That we are going to plot here. It may result in this way as a curve. And any combinational production in the sense combination used for producing A and B with the allocated resources. So such any combinational production which is resulting below this curve, will show the wastage of units. Simply wastage of units means here, for example, using some 8 units of these allocated resources, we are able to produce some 3 units of A, 3 goods of A and 4 goods of B. Using 8 allocated resources, we are able to produce these. Remaining 3 units are wasted. Then that combination will lie below this curve. So any combination which lies below this curve is simply wastage of resources. So sometimes such wastage may not be under our control. So we have to think it just as a concept. So when we are able to control the combination and finally able to produce all the goods, in the sense it may be 4 and this may be 6, or this may be 5 and this may be 5, or this may be 3 and 4, but we have to use the 10 units completely. Then when the units of allocated resources are never wasted, definitely that combinational result will lie on the curve, or sometimes very rarely above the curve. So if the combinational possibility is lying on the curve, simply the resources are completely used without any wastage. But if that combination is lying below the curve, then simply the resources are wasted. So this curve is called as nothing but production possibility frontier. This curve in the graph, this curve in the graph is called as the production possibility frontier. So this is one. I am expecting that you understood. Any doubts you may post below this video. Now let us go to this opportunity cost. So what is this opportunity cost? So this is also an explanation one way related with the allocated resources only. That is nothing but we use these allocated resources depending upon the necessity of the 2 goods to be produced. In the sense, in a society which is requiring 2 goods A and B, or 2 services A and B, maybe one good or one service may have more necessity than the other. In the sense, much people in the society may need the good or service A, and compared with A, B is in low requirement. Then how we are supported to use the units? We should use more number of units to A and the remaining units to B, so that we never skip off the production of B. See here, B is having a low requirement, but at the same time we are not supported to skip off the production of B, because here we are discussing about the combination. So depending upon the necessity, we have to use more resources for the production of a good or a service which is in much requirement. Then for example, actually we are thinking, or anyone, simply when there are some resources available, actually usual thing is we share equally between the available combinations. That is the actual mechanism anyone will do. So in this way, for example, let us think 10 units are shared between A and B, just like 5 and 5. Just assume. Forget about the necessity. So 5 units will be shared for A and 5 units will be shared for B. Okay. But now the much requirement issue has come here, and A is the product or good which is in much requirement in the society. Then what we will do? The resources which are actually allocated to B, the resources which are actually allocated for the production of B will be diverted for the production of the good A or service A to meet the higher requirement of A. So what happens? Assume that some 2 units which are allocated to B among these 5 are diverted to A. In the sense 5 minus 2. So here 3 are left for B, and to meet the higher requirement of A in the society, we are diverting the 2 units to A. Totally how many units here? 7 units are allocated to A. Then here what we call the opportunity cost is the additional allocation 2 is called as the opportunity cost. Simply production of A, that is additional production, not simply production. Additional production of A at the cost of value of the actual allocation of B. So 2 units which are allocated to B are diverted to A. So now the opportunity cost here is 2 units. So to let you understand, I am explaining you it in the form of some statistics, but actually statistics may not be involved here. Simply opportunity cost means we are catching the opportunity for what? To meet the higher requirements of a particular product. When the resources are to be combinationally allocated to some other product, but that product is not in higher requirement, but another one is in higher requirement, we will divert. We will take a choice of using more units to A from the resources allocated to another product, say B. That mechanism is nothing but the opportunity cost of A with the units allocated to B. That is nothing but the additional production of A at the cost of B. The additional production of a particular product at the cost of another product which is having some similarity in the allocation of resources is nothing but the opportunity cost. Actually, everyone explains economy simply from the beginning of GDP, GNP, etc., etc., inflation. But actually, one has to understand the basic economic principles to have a good understanding of economy. For that purpose, these are also necessary. We are not supported to neglect these smaller basics. All these basics are there in the NCERT books, which are very, very necessary for civil services. Never try to neglect the NCERT books. They are very important for civil services and also for other public service commission exams. All these topics are explained in the NCERT books at the basic level. Don't neglect these basics. They are necessary. In the coming class, we go very deep into the discussion of Indian economy. Thank you.